Hello and welcome to another episode of Geared Toward Gear. My name is Sean and I'm so glad you're here. Today we're taking a look at a slip joint knife. I feel like I've done a couple slip joint knife reviews lately. This one is called the Ledge and it is made by StatGear. This is my first experience ever with a StatGear product and I'm pretty happy with it. It's the Ledge in red. Let's get it out of the box here and talk about it. While I'm getting it out of the box, I will tell you that I have since purchasing this one. I bought this on Amazon. I did buy two more. It comes in 3 colors, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But I bought 2 more in the other 2 colors that it offers. So if that gives you any indication as to whether or not I like this knife, I like this knife. So let's move that off to the side there. All right, so there it is, the StatGear Ledge. So, quick down and dirty on this guy. G10 handle scales, D2 blade steel, an overall length of about, let's see, what are we working with here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just shy of 6 inches, and a cost of $35. They were having a sale on these, and by the time this video posts, that's probably over. But I did post about it on my Instagram and Facebook. So if you're not following me there, check the description for links to my Instagram and Facebook, because I'll occasionally post things like that, sales and deals that are happening. So I did buy the other 2 versions, and just to give you an idea of what those are, it comes in 3 colors. You've got kind of a bi-layer G10 here, where the red color sits below. It's 2 layers, as you can see. The other version is brown, or one of the other options is brown. And the third option is just all black. So I bought the brown and the black versions to go along with this one because I do really like this knife quite a bit. So let's get a couple size comparisons out of the way. And being a small knife, I'm just going to use the smaller of the standard size comparison knives. The Rat Model 2 from Ontario and the Mini Griptilian from Benchmade. So as you can see, quite a small knife at, basically 6 inches overall. And we'll bring in, let me fold this guy up here, and we'll bring in a Victorinox Pioneer. So you can get an idea of the size there. A pretty small guy, but I like small knives, and I like slip joints. So there it is, the StatGear Ledge. So the handle length is 3.6 inches, and the blade length is 2.5. So this is going to be legal to carry in the UK and in Canada per StatGear's website, which is a good thing. So UK and Canada friendly. The blade steel, as I mentioned, is D2, which is great. So I think at the price, $35 for G10 and D2 is fine. Granted, you can get some great Ganzo knives with the same materials, G10 and D2, for that same price, or even less. But I don't think it's unfair, and I'm quite happy with it. So let's talk about the blade a little bit. So it's kind of a modified sheep's foot shape. It's got this kind of fuller that runs the entire length of the blade all the way to the very, very end. And that's your opening method, or your nail nick, so to speak. It's a satin finish, and I think it looks really nice. It's got a little bit of belly to it. And it's a really good slicer. This thing came so freaking sharp out of the box, I can't even tell you. I shaved a big bald spot on my wrist with this thing when I got it. We'll do a quick cut test since we're talking about the blade. So, as you can see, just slicing like a champion until I screw it up at the very end, but a phenomenal slicer, just crazy wicked sharp out of the box. And I've carried this and used it for probably 4 or 5 days at this point, and it's still wicked sharp. So I think they did a pretty good job on the D2 there. So I'm digging the blade shape a lot. I really like it. And D2 steel is kind of what we come to expect from most overseas produced knives in kind of this general price range lately. So no major issues there at all. The grind on this thing is going to be a flat grind. So that's the blade. One thing that's kind of odd is that the actual cutting edge goes all the way kind of into the handle and a little bit beyond it, actually. So there's no sharpening choil to speak of. So this thing would have to be either you would, what I'll probably do, to be completely honest with you, when I need to sharpen this is just disassemble it and take the blade out and put the blade in my sharpening system, as opposed to adding a sharpening choil, which you could certainly do, but I mean, they're really giving you as much cutting edge as possible, which may be a good thing for you. I would have liked to see a little bit of a choil there, but that's my my personal preference. I already talked about the handle length being 3.6 inches and being G10. It's decent G10. It's not the nicest G10 I've ever seen, but it's definitely not bad. And I do like kind of that bi-layer, having the black on top and the contrasting color below, and that kind of random pattern there. I think it looks pretty cool. So that's what we're talking about as far as handle material. It's pretty smooth, actually. Those grooves do add some traction, but the actual top layer of G10, in this case the black, is actually quite smooth. But in the hand, it feels crazy secure, just because of its size. You know, if you've got even medium-sized hands, you know, it's such a small knife that it just kind of locks in. So that's what we're looking at as far as the handle is concerned. And I already told you about the other colors being brown and black. The action is good. It's nice and smooth. There's no half stop to speak of, which I like. So let me talk about this for a minute. With a slip joint knife of this size, with the blade cutting edge going all the way to the handle, I think it was smart of them to not put a half stop on this knife. Because once you close the blade to right there, the cutting edge is going to start coming into contact with your hand. So generally when you have a half stop, once you reach a certain point, it just kind of springs into that half stop. I prefer this. This is more like a Victorinox, right? Just like the Pioneer X I just showed you. There's no half stop. It just kind of closes and you decide when to move your fingers out of the way. So I look at this as like a Victorinox in terms of how I close it. So I can just slowly start closing it, move my finger out of the way. It's not wanting to spring back until you get towards the very end there, and then it closes the rest of the way. So I think it was actually wise of them to not include a half stop. If there was a finger choil or something like that, I could see them doing a half stop, but with such a short blade, if you added a forward finger choil, you'd have like a 1.5 inch cutting edge. So I think it was smart to not use a half stop. So just close it like you would a Swiss Army knife, right? Close it like this, or just slowly close it one-handed and get your fingers out of the way and close it that way. So I'm happy with the fact that there is no half stop. Centering is pretty good. It's actually perfect right down the center. You can see those steel liners in there, and those are actually going to be milled quite a bit. So it's going to be really hard to see, and maybe not even possible to show you, but there is a lot of milling in those liners to lighten it up. The weight on this guy is 2 ounces, so just a super lightweight carry. So I do like that. As far as texturing, you know, there's not a ton. Again, it's pretty smooth. There's no jimping or anything like that, which I'm fine with. This is a very small, kind of light-duty slip joint. The overall kind of finish, as far as fitment, is actually quite nice. When we look at the back spring and the liners and kind of how everything interfaces, they actually did a pretty good job. You know, there's little imperfections here and there, like right there where that kind of little gap is on that side, but overall it's actually really well done. It does have a pocket clip, which is decent. It feels a little cheap, like the metal they used feels a little cheap, but I haven't had any problems with it going in and out of the pocket. It's a fairly deep carry. You're going to have basically just the lanyard hole coming out of your pocket. So a pretty deep ride pocket clip, not very thick to accommodate larger material. And I think what a lot of people might do, and I might do myself, is just remove that clip altogether and use this as a drop in the bottom of the pocket type knife. I think it would serve that purpose quite well. or throw it in your fifth pocket of a pair of jeans. So, you know, a couple different carry options. The pocket clip is reversible though, so if you do want to use it and you're left-handed, you can reverse it to the other side, and it's going to be tip-up only. So that's the basics on the StatGear Ledge. Ergonomically, for me, you know, you've got that one forward finger choil. The rest of your fingers will just kind of find their place. It's just straight, right? So there's nothing really to contend with. So just kind of find a place for your fingers, find a place for your thumb, and use the knife. I think this would fit most hand sizes. I have an extra large hand. I mean, this thing is tiny in my giant hand, right? So I still get a very comfortable grip on this. It feels very, 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 very secure. The back spring tension is decent. It's strong enough. And again, I do like the fact that it does not have a half stop, because I think on this design, it would have been a bad idea to include one. So that's it. That's my thoughts on the StatGear Ledge. I did enjoy it enough to go ahead and buy two more, again, in the brown and in the black colors. So if you're into slip joints and you want something that's just a little different, nice, cool kind of sheep's foot blade shape with some kind of, you know, embellished G10 handle scale, something a little more modern, I think the StatGear Ledge could be a great option. So that's it. That's my thoughts on the StatGear Ledge. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.